Okay, hello everyone. This is the weekly package retro. And I want to kick off, but just as a point of order, I think in a couple of places people have added some, and then someone else has added some, and then someone else has that first person has added. So if you have items, just read through them in order and skip over that. And we'll figure that out later. But it's just more contiguous that way. I'll read for Gigi since this is at a time when he can't attend. This is what went not so well for September 6th. Tag, delete, MR still not merged, taking way longer than I expected. He also says that the Docker registry disappointed again, no pagination in the tags API. Yep, and those are things we're pretty aware of, at least in the generality of like, there's not a whole lot of development in the APIs there. So that's an area that we're trying to address. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I've just realized that like I'm usually pretty productive in the mornings. That's like when I get in my like momentum flow, and I've noticed that a lot of times, having various meetings throughout the mornings breaks up that momentum for me, and so I certainly don't get to take full advantage of that productivity before my afternoon food coma. And then secondly, there's just like at least I feel like there's still a lot to be figured out with Conan. It's kind of, I go back and forth with this probably multiple times a day. And some of those things are just, realizing that there's still some metadata fields that I haven't even extracted yet that we want to be able to display. And I've still had some issues where like I'll go through creating and installing a package, and then I try to do it in sort of like a different way that maybe a user would do, and things don't work the same. So I just have to kind of like continue to figure out what's going on there. But it's been a little frustrating to debug those things.
Oh, perfect. I think I'm up next. This week we had a bit of a stag with the research survey. We are ready on our side, but there's an accessibility issue that we know about, but we have to coordinate with the brand ambassadors and make sure that everything is kind of smooth there. The two people on the research team that are kind of helping us coordinate this were both on vacation. So unfortunately, it just kind of kept stumbling. I've already reached out to Lori, and so next week we have a plan to move forward.
Okay, so for me, first one is the sorting component is just taking a little bit longer than I was hoping to get merged. And I guess it's just because it's my first GitLab UI component, so it's just getting up to speed and learning expectations. Second one is the code reviews are feeling a bit more like a negotiation sometimes, rather than just a code review. And I'm just kind of like, it's interesting to think like throughout my entire development career, I've optimized for delivering features as soon as possible. And with the code reviews here, that's not quite the same. It's more about the actual quality of the code versus the features that you're delivering. So I'm just having to change a little bit and grow a little bit as a developer. So on the one hand, it's a very good thing. On the other one, it's just a little bit not entirely what I'm used to.
Cool. My first one's just me being a baby. Moving took a really long time. We're almost there. I just was so sore afterwards, I'm not even lifting anything. All the movers are lifting heavy things. I'm just like moving boxes around, and the next day I was like, can't feel my arms, my neck hurts, and whatever. So it's fine. I'm just being a baby. The second one is I was working on sort of like planning, and I was hoping to get to this MVC issue for NuGet, which would be like, it came up in the issue, some users suggesting just have a feed of the NuGet packages. It doesn't necessarily matter as much push and pull. I really like that idea. I want to write about that issue. I just didn't get to it this week, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But I think I have time for it next week.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, and I think no one likes moving, so I think you're okay to feel like a baby there. At least I probably would too. So, still recovering. This is mine now. Still recovering from whatever I've been ill with, which has been unfun. It leaves me feeling pretty tired, but I hope it goes away soon. The next one for me is a candidate everyone was stoked about is out of the process. we were working out if there was a way for us to satisfy the need we had in a particular area for the candidate, and we couldn't. So that was a big bummer. I think is the technical terminology. So I had been continuing to interview anyway, but it was a bit of a shame because the candidate had a lot of positive feedback. So, and then our bug count is going up. I think we were just discussing this in the meeting before. I think that's more of a discovery situation than hey, our code is getting worse somehow, even though there's only 2 people actively writing code in our area. 3 people, if you count Nick as well, which we should. I should count Nick. Hi, Nick. So it's more about a discovery process of us identifying that, where there are issues in our code and sort of discovery, like I mentioned. It just means we're going to need to look at our SLOs and make sure we're actually prioritizing those sufficiently. But if you look at the chart, I've included a link. It's a little scary just because I know there's a lot of work there to solve those issues. But anyway, that's it for me.
I think I'm next. So I just had one point. I just wanted to call this out. I've been feeling super busy this week and a little bit behind. I think Monday probably had something to do with that. But Friday is typically my catch-up day, so no worries. Feeling pretty good about wrapping up all my open to-dos, but I know there's quite a few pings. Some of those are package related, so just wanted to call that out that hopefully I'll have those wrapped up today. So all good. Over to what went well and Gigi. I think, Dan, that's you.
No, you can read for Gigi. It's fine.
Oh, awesome. So what went well? Thanks, Dan. So overcommit and my first feature change, MR, was merged. If you're not using overcommit yet, I recommend you give it a try. So awesome. Thank you, Gigi, for that. And then double thumbs up from Dan over there, which is good. Very positive to have 2 thumbs up. Next one, one-on-one helped unblock progress with a metrics issue. That sounds pretty great too. And then last point from Gigi, it looks like, is he got a ticket to the components conf next Tuesday. That sounds pretty awesome. I'd love to hear more about that after the conference. Be cool to hear some follow-up from that. So that's it for Gigi, and over to Steve.
This week, some things that went well. I started submitting some MRs into review for Conan. So I finally have gotten over that hump of sort of, being afraid of splitting things up and just kind of doing it, and like we'll see what happens and fix things along the way as the MRs go into review. And then I also had a really great sync with Nick yesterday. And we had really good conversation just about how the front end and back end kind of talk together. And I feel like I have a better understanding of how to provide the front end with what it needs versus kind of my mentality of like, how could the front end know what to do if it hasn't written the back end, or I'm writing the back end, how could I not write the front end, which is my old full stack mentality. And there is unfortunately not a video.
All right, I'll go next. Tim and I had a couple great syncs this week. I was a little worried at the beginning of the week in terms of, what does the future of package look like? How do I start putting designs together? Got a couple great synchronous conversations. Tim did a ton of work around putting things together. So I'm excited, and I feel confident in what's coming next. So that was exciting. Next up is Nick.
Okay. So first point is the package details page where I've converted that into Vue.js has been merged. It's my biggest MR to date. There's quite a lot of changes in there, quite a lot of work. So I'm really happy that got over the line. It was pretty epic. So that puts us in a good stead for the next point, which is the more Conan UI work can now take place on that page. I'm looking forward to implementing those features. There's going to be a few more issues spun off of that merge request, like some new components are going to be made, etc., etc. So I'm really excited for that kind of stuff and to get on with that. And then final point was great sync with Steve, just echoing his point there, and Tim as well. Tim was watching. And it's good knowing how we can work, or having a better idea of how the front end and the back end are going to be able to work moving forward in package. My bad. We probably should have recorded it, but it was completely unstructured. In like, there was just no. It was just a conversation more than anything, and yeah, probably my bad there.
Cool. Thanks for saying Tim listened, because I think that's a perfect summary of what I was doing. A lot of it was over my head, so I really was just trying to, glean what I could. But actually, that is one of my positive points, because I think us using the API that we built to power the front end is really powerful. And I think maybe we could get some of the additional metadata in the container registry and package registry tables now, because we do have things like a projects API that maybe we could use, or a pipelines API. So I'm crossing my fingers that that's going to be something else we could do. Ian and I worked on a plan for what we will work on over this next several milestones. So we ended up fleshing out 4 key epics, putting things into milestones. It's a high-level plan. It's not totally, obviously hasn't been shared with everyone on this team yet, but I'm looking forward to getting in front of your eyes and getting feedback, see what's missing, and making the timelines a little bit more realistic. Jason, actually I should say Mark, has been doing some reviews of people's strategy and direction pages with CI/CD. I think he did it with Secure. He's sort of choosing the high priority stages. But something that's come out of that is Jason's been rewriting our CI/CD vision and direction pages. And we switched the templates from using North Stars to using themes. And then the themes have a lot more details. We talk about what we're not doing. So just a lot more thought has went into how those pages are updated and how we talk about these things. And it's been very helpful for me to hear, and also awesome to see Jason talk about all of these things and what the future is in three years down the road. So it's pretty inspiring for me as a PM. And that's all my things, I guess. Yeah, Dan, you're up next.
Thank you. I feel like this week-ish, we've made some really good progress and solid steps forward in our process. That was some good conversation we were having in one of our team issues on issue weighting. And so I've updated our team page on GitLab on the actual public website, so you can actually look at that process. I shared the MR in our channel. So I'm always expecting people to give feedback if they have changes or suggestions. But I really appreciate working through some of these and improving. Next one, I felt like I've been pretty productive this week, which is nice. Back to hiring again, although I said that last time, which I like hiring, so it's fun. And I'm sort of having an improving understanding of the organization and how I get to do what I do. So that's nice. And then working with everyone on goals is also yielding results, and that's sort of having lots of one-on-one chats with people. And then just sort of conversations in the channel and sort of helping people along is something else I love about the job. So that's been awesome too. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Dan. So just a couple things from my side. Nico starts on Monday. Nico will be our second front-end engineer. So that is super exciting. So just want to call that out. Hi, Dan. And then also my other went well was Nick and I had some really, really, really great chats this week about 12.4 deliverables. And I think those went really well, Nick. So thanks so much for those talks. I think we had some great outcomes. And yes, Dan, I was literally just thinking the same thing. I'll add this real quick. In my previous role, I worked with a colleague named Chuck. He has a great beard, and Chuck has been following our videos. He likes to keep an eye on what GitLab is doing. And so Chuck is a great guy, so we wanted to say hi to Chuck. So Chuck, officially, hello.
Hi, Chuck. Hi, Chuck from the package team.
Yeah. This is pretty nuts. Chuck's real name is Larry, okay? So there's this whole confusion around why Larry is called Chuck. Super confusing thing. But just go with Chuck for now. So
wait, should this conversation about Larry Chuck be in the what went not so well or what went well?
Good point, Dan. I'll ping him. Chuck, I'm gonna ping you on Slack. We'll talk about that. That's
Great.
it for me. Thanks for the fun.
Awesome, nice one. We are about 15 minutes in. Does anyone have anything in particular out of this they wanted to call out and discuss?
guess I was curious with the hiring. I don't know if that's something we talk about here, but so you mentioned that one of the candidates was dropped out. Is that the person that was going to maybe start in October?
No. So this was the person starting in October has a signed contract and everything's good to go there.
Cool.
As far as I know, there's no reason to think otherwise. I'm very excited about that person, and I'm sure everyone else is, with a little less detail than I have. So yeah, it was not that that
Cool.
person. Anything else anyone wants to bring up? I think John, sorry, go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just gonna say, since we're done, I think your background looks pretty cool, Dan. That's all.
I'm a bit of a fan of this background. My only problem is
Awesome.
Zoom struggles with the actual virtual background sometimes, depending on the colors.
That's the same sticker I have right here. I'm doing it backwards,
Nice.
but that's my favorite sticker. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so do you want to just walk through very quickly the plan with Nico as he starts, just for everyone's information while we're here? Just because that came up. I know it's not technically a retro, but it's probably worth mentioning.
Yeah, sure. Are you referring to like how we're going to kind of distribute the work a little bit? Yeah, okay. So yeah, so what we're kind of where we're thinking, what Dan's referring to is, as Nico comes on board, we'll spend some time onboarding him, obviously, and ask Nick to spend a little bit of time helping Nico get up to speed and kind of transferring some of that domain knowledge. And then, since we're kind of a little light on the front end side right now inside of Package, what we're thinking is we would ask Nick to spend some of his time helping Nico get up to speed and answering any questions that are package related. And then we'd also give Nick an opportunity to step out a little bit and help with some of the larger GitLab front end issues that are going on right now, like shared components and any of those efforts that would benefit the entire front end while he's helping out with Nico. So that's kind of what we're thinking. I think it's a good step forward and a good opportunity for both Nick and Nico to help out. So that's what we're thinking. And thanks for calling that out, Dan.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. That's great. We're really excited. I often wonder whether I've had this experience recently where I interviewed where someone said, "Oh, I've been watching your team meetings because I knew which team it was, and I've been on YouTube."
Right.
And it's I love transparency. It's one of my like big values that I've always had very high on my list. But to have someone say that in an interview, I'm like, oh, okay, that feels weird now. But it's totally not. It's great. It's like, and I tell people to go look at the meetings. I'm like, hey, if you want to go see how we work together, you can go into YouTube and search for this and pull up the meetings that we have. But then to have someone preemptively do it, which is actually a good thing, I was kind of like, ooh.
Super cool. I love the transparency too. It's so refreshing to be a part of that. So very cool.
All right. That's all I've got. Anything else? Want to raise anything before we call it? Nope. Awesome.